The president was bullish yesterday on the idea of a China trade deal. He said it could be just about 4 weeks until we know whether these negotiations that are ongoing here in Washington this week are bearing fruit. The president said ultimately there could be a summit meeting in Washington between himself and Xi Jinping. But I was in the Oval Office yesterday with the president and the Chinese Vice Premier Liu He, who's been here leading the Chinese delegation. And I asked the president what the sticking points are that still remain to be solved. Here's what he said.
Well, we have things. We're talking intellectual property protection and theft, talking about certain tariffs. It's very important that certain elements of the tariff that is in discussion right now. We have a number of things, but we've also agreed to far more than we have left to agree to.
So the president suggesting that they've agreed to more than they have left to agree to. But among the sticking points, the president suggesting that intellectual property issues are at the core there and certain tariffs are at the core. And if you remember, guys, that's sort of where this debate started, with intellectual property theft by the Chinese, as the U.S. alleges, being the core of the debate, and also the tariffs being at the core of the debate. So two fundamental issues the president suggesting there still unresolved as these negotiations are ongoing. The president, though, saying about 4 weeks until he thinks they'll know whether the negotiations have borne fruit, and then maybe another 2 weeks until they can paper it, he said, that is, get something in writing. What we're told behind the scenes is that they are going line by line through all of this, making sure that all the translations match up, the Chinese to English translation matches up, and every party has signed off on each line of the agreement as they go through. So there's no real wiggle room here and no chance of a backfire if they do get to the point where they feel like they can schedule a summit. Negotiations in Washington ongoing throughout the day today. We're told the Chinese delegation will be meeting with the USTR staff in Washington throughout the day today, guys.
We heard all of this, that the president just saying that most of it's been done, but there was also these other things going around yesterday that there's still about 25% left. Yeah. And that is the really tough stuff, like you mentioned, the tariffs, the IP, but also this idea of enforcement. Any word on the enforcement aspect alone of it?
Yeah, the president was also asked about that, and he said enforcement is still a sticking point as well. The question is, you know, how are they going to work this out so that if there is a dispute in the future, the United States can retaliate against China without having a situation where it spirals out of control into a series of retaliations and retaliations back? They don't seem to have a resolution to that right now, and that's one of the big sticking points. So if you look at it, tariffs are a sticking point, intellectual property is a sticking point, and how you enforce the deal is a sticking point. That's the core of the deal.
And the deal, if we're going to be looking at this, the other thing we heard is that this is all things that they were promised to do by 2025. And that's after President Trump is out of office, even if he wins a second term.
That's the first year of the next guy's term. So, you know, that's a problem for the next president, whoever that might be.